Phone died. I do lives. These are actually like videos. I don't edit my videos and I don't it's not a big production. I go live because it uploads the video faster. And then sometimes I catch people, y'all like talking and stuff, and we have chats, and that's cool. I don't know. I like to do the live thing, but we are reading Golden Dawn Ritual Tarot by Chic and Tabitha Cicero. So, for centuries, the tarot, an illustrated textbook of ageless esoteric wisdom, has been used by occultists, mystics, and magicians for the purposes of divination and meditation. It has captivated the imaginations of many, from mere curiosity seekers and dabblers to famous artists, poets, magicians, and psychologists. Although many people who are unfamiliar with the Western magical tradition think of tarot cards as charming but strange devices for telling fortunes, the tarot is in fact a complete and elaborate system for describing the hidden forces which underlie the universe. It is also the key to all occult science, as well as a blueprint for unlocking the various parts of the human psyche. A comprehensive study of the tarot is a task which is very nearly equal to acquiring a college degree in both psychology and theology. Each tarot card is an astral mirror of the human mind. Each is also an astral mirror of the human soul. The origin of the tarot remains a mystery. It has been claimed by some that the tarot has existed since the time of the Egyptians and even earlier, its knowledge dating as far back as Atlantis. Another theory says that the great esoteric minds that witnessed the burning of the library at Alexandria met in secret and decided to save the wisdom of the ages from being lost by hiding it in a game of cards. Still others say that the tarot came from the Far East or from the gypsies. As romantic as all of these stories may be, they remain to this day unencumbered by facts. To our knowledge, the tarot was invented in the early 14th century and was used as a tool of instruction for those who did not know how to read. It was also used for gambling. However, by the 1800s, the cards were almost entirely used for fortune telling. The decks of this era were based upon what is known as the Grigonier deck, which was owned by Charles VI of France. Many of the so-called medieval decks are variations of this deck. With the mid-1850s came an occult revival in Europe, inspired by great esoteric thinkers such as Eliphas Levi. With the rebirth came serious study of the tarot and continued Kabbalistic associations to the symbolism contained therein. And although the exact origin of the tarot remains a mystery, along with the unanswered questions of whether or not its inventors intentionally placed Kabbalistic symbolism into the cards, the tarot itself remains untarnished. The fact remains that the two systems of Kabbalah and tarot are so strikingly similar in theory that they easily complement and describe one another. If they indeed came from different origins, it would only serve to prove how universal is the divine truth behind them both. With the 19th century came the full blossoming of what is known as the modern Hermetic tarot, based upon the principles of the Kabbalah, the mystical wisdom of the ancient Hebrews. This Hermetic Kabbalah was the primary focus of the teaching of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Founded in 1888 by a group of Kabbalists, Freemasons, Theosophists, and Rosicrucians, the Golden Dawn was formed as a magical initiatory fraternity of men and women whose task was the study, teaching, organization, and survival of the Western mystery tradition. This unique order managed to develop a structured curriculum for the study of Western magic, at the time unifying the various elements of Kabbalah, astrology, tarot, Hermeticism, geomancy, and Enochian magic. Virtually all the best books on the subject of Western magic and mysticism were written by, or at the very least, influenced by members of the order. S. L. McGregor Mathers, Dr. Wynne Westcott, Dion Fortune, A. E. Waite, Aleister Crowley, Paul Foster Case, and Israel Regardie were among the best known of the order's members, whose works are still highly sought after by today's practicing magicians. In fact, much of the order's teachings have been copied or used by authors, persons, or groups without any acknowledgement of their Golden Dawn roots. Israel Regardie, V.H. Frater ad Majorum, Adonai Gloriam, is the connecting link between the order's past and its present. A deeply spiritual and magical man, this is his magical name, Israel Regardie's, V.H. Frater AMAG, or Ad Majorum Adonai Gloriam, was committed to the order's goal of preserving the Western mystery tradition. Therefore, in 1937, when it was apparent that the last remnants of the Stella Stella Mutatina. Never said that out loud, and I've only read about it. That was a offshoot of the Golden Dawn after it fell apart. An offshoot branch of the original order was atrophying, and a very real possibility existed that the tradition would be lost forever. They actually wanted to burn all their shit. And Regardie actually is the one that saved it. He saved all his manuscripts and stuff, and he wrote the Black Brick. Regardie published the Stella Mutatina curriculum, Black Brick. In this manner, he fulfilled one of two personal tasks for preserving the Hermetic order of the Golden Dawn and its knowledge. With this step, he preserved the knowledge. With the second step, he would resurrect the order itself. V.H. Frater, AMAG. Hello, how you doing? I'm reading from the Golden Dawn Ritual Tarot, and if you go into the description, there's a link you could read along. I just started. Waited another 4 decades after publishing the Golden Dawn to establish a valid initiatory branch of the Hermetic Order, the Golden Dawn, in the United States. However, the lamp of the hidden knowledge came into American hands is a fascinating example of magic and synchronicity. However, without divulging too much, we will present the facts here. In 1977, a certain Frater S. and his wife established an autonomous Golden Dawn temple in Columbus, Georgia. Since there was no longer a functioning order of the Golden Dawn, at this time Frater S. began construction of the Vault of the Adepti. The powerful ritual chamber required for a valid initiation into the Adeptus Minor grade of 5 degrees equals the 6 Sephirot of Tiferet. In 1980, Frater S. and his wife began correspondence with Israel Regardie, who was quite interested in their work and who provided order papers with his own personal expertise for the project. Meanwhile, in California, a person we will call Sorer M., who had known Regardie from the early 70s, began an extensive program of magical studies under Regardie's personal guidance. To this day, she remains the only student who was ever accepted by Israel Regardie for personal magical training. In the early 1980s, she too established a working temple of the Golden Dawn. And in the state of Tennessee, a person whom we will refer to as Frater E., a scholar and ceremonial magician, initiated himself through all of the grades of the outer order of the Golden Dawn, thus the 1 through 4. Around the early 1980s, he too began correspondence with Israel Regardie. Thus, the stage was set for the resurrection of the Order of the Golden Dawn. The 3 persons mentioned above, Frater S., Sorer M., and Frater E., did not know each other except through the key player in this story, Israel Regardie. At the Georgia Temple, work on the vault continued for a couple of years, since it was by definition an ambitious and an extensive task. Then in 1982, when construction of the vault was nearing its completion, arrangements were made for Frater Israel Regardie, along with Sorer M., to meet with Frater S. and E. in Georgia. In June of 1982, this auspicious meeting took place, and all of the important players of this drama were brought together for the first time. Then on the day of Corpus Christi, in June 26, 1982, Israel Regardi, our very honored Frater AMAG, performed the ceremony of the consecration of the vault of the Adepti. On that same date, he initiated Soror M into the grade of 5 degrees equals 6. On the following day, he initiated Frater E into the Adeptus minor grade, which is 5 equals 6. In addition, he also initiated one neophyte. This event marked the reestablishment of a valid initiating second order in the United States. This also marked the only occasion where Israel Regardi personally initiated anyone into the order. Regardi's own wishes were for the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn to remain a relatively small but accessible group of magicians who would keep the original goals and workings of the order alive. Letters and documents within the order show that he personally detested the ideas of schisms or exploitation of the order's name that would naturally occur if large numbers of people got involved. Since Regardi's death in 1985, it has become vogue for some occultists to claim that they were personal students of Israel Regardi, quote unquote. We can assure you that Israel Regardi, if he were still alive, many people would have a lot of explaining to do. The branch of the Golden Dawn which Regardi founded in this country has succeeded to an amazing degree in keeping the special magic of the order alive. Not only has the current of energy that the Golden Dawn represents been preserved, and contacts on the inner planes reestablished, but in fact there are now a number of adepts adding their own magical experience to the Order's body of knowledge. During the spring equinox of 1988, the centennial celebration of the Golden Dawn was held at the Los Angeles Temple of Soror M. There now exist many temples in several states and in Canada under the guidance of a genuinely established Second Order. These temples do not openly advertise or solicit members, depending instead upon persons' contacts for further growth. As the old saying goes, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. This brings us back to the tarot. The original tarot used by the Golden Dawn was based upon S.L. McGregor Mather's research and subsequent drawings of the cards. Second order members were required. Okay, second order. Sorry, I said practicus. I guess you had to be an adept. Second order members were required to copy all the cards by hand and use them. They had to make their own cards, use them in their magical work. Many of the most popular tarot decks of today, including the Rider-Waite-Smith deck and the Thoth deck by Aleister Crowley, are based upon Mather's originals, although the symbolism in both cases were altered to reflect the personal visions of their respective creators. In 1978, a tarot deck published by artist Robert Wang came the nearest to illustrating the description given in the Golden Dawn manuscripts. After several conversations with Israel Regardi, who expressed dissatisfaction with existing tarot decks, we began work on the new Golden Dawn Ritual Tarot. We wanted a deck that would fulfill the traditional symbolic and ritual requirements of the Golden Dawn system of magic. It was also decided that this deck would incorporate both the flashing colors and the color scales of the four Kabbalistic worlds, teachings of the order, which had never been before utilized in a tarot deck. Shortly before his death, we visited Regardi for the last time at his home in Sedona, Arizona. After viewing several of the sketches for the major arcana that we had brought to show him, Regardi was impressed with the project and wanted to commission it. We discussed the various ways in which a student could use this deck and its eventual employment in the initiation ceremonies of the order. After a wonderful stay in Sedona, we returned home. Regardi died of a massive heart attack 10 days later on March 10, 1985. Regardi's death was an enormous emotional blow to us. However, work continued on the deck for another 4 years until its completion. The new Golden Dawn Ritual Tarot is the result of much hard work and dedication. This deck is intended to be of use to anyone seeking a reliable tarot which follows a verified tradition. This book will explore all of the symbolism that went into the making of each and every card, as well as the Kabbalistic principles behind the deck. Chapter 1 will focus on the fundamentals of the Kabbalah, the different patterns formed on the Tree of Life, and how the tarot relates to the Kabbalah, as well as its astrological and elemental correspondences. Chapter 2 will characterize in detail the cards of the major arcana. Chapter 3 will deal with the minor arcana, minus the royal cards. Chapter 4 we will concentrate on the court cards. The original ordered description of each card from manuscripts by S.L. McGregor Mathers is also provided. Chapter 5 gives practical ritual techniques for using the tarot as a tool for spiritual attainment as well as methods of divination. This deck was designed with two versions of the 14th key, the Card of Temperance, in order to conform with the requirements of the Golden Dawn ritual. The cards of the minor arcana make use of the order's flashing colors in a consistent fashion, so that even a beginner can immediately grasp the elemental energies inherent to the card. This rapid method of perceiving elemental information serves to stimulate the reader's psyche, which deals in symbols and colors, and can lead to greater esoteric awareness. The color scales of the four worlds described in Chapter 1 are shown in the background of each card of the minor arcana. This has been done to provide the advanced Hermetic student with an easy way to explore some of the more difficult and inaccessible teachings of the Golden Dawn, using a format that makes meditation and ritual work on the color scales much simpler. We hope that the student and the adept alike will benefit greatly from the continued use of this deck. Inheritor of a dying world, we call thee to the living beauty. Wanderer in the wild darkness, we call thee to the gentle light. Long that hast thou dwelt in the darkness, quit the night and seek the day. That's from the neophyte ceremony. We're all neophytes at the end of the day. What up, Coy? Oh shit. So chapter 1. I don't have my deck because part 1 I was talking about it. I fucking took a bunch of acid and went thrifting and found like all this dope shit, a guitar, a Masonic Bible, a bunch of sick ass drip. And it was like so cheap. The Masonic Bible was like $4, and it was like fucking it's a beautiful Bible, man. So when I got this, I wanted the book mainly for the rituals, but the cards were dope. But I felt that I needed to give back to the universe a little bit, so I had the fucking, I hadn't even used the deck. I had gotten the cards like a day or two before. I was just walking around with them though, and I left them with like the games and stuff. Like there was playing cards and shit, and I just left them like there. You know, fucking brand new, sick ass tarot deck that I had cleansed and shit with the elements. But you got to give back to the universe. I just felt it was like a good thing to do. You know what I mean? And energy was on point. 14 hits of LSD 25, baby. Woo! The Tree of Life in the Tarot. One cannot make an in-depth study of the tarot without mentioning that body of ancient knowledge known as the Kabbalah. This mystical tradition is the foundation upon which the modern Hermetic tarot rests. Indeed, the cards of the tarot can be used as windows through which one can explore and better understand the Kabbalah, the complexity of which might frustrate many students. Whether or not the original creators of the tarot intended to create a pictorial system that would explain the basic principles of Kabbalah is unimportant. It is irrefutably evident that the two systems fit together so completely that one explains the other, and both point to the same divine truths. What will be given in this chapter is a brief look at Kabbalah basics and how they correspond to the makeup of the tarot and to specific cards. Total absorption of the material given on the following pages of this chapter will reward the reader many times over in his or her quest for tarot knowledge as well as spiritual growth. Kabbalah is a Hebrew word which means tradition. It also means to receive, reception. No one knows where or when this doctrine of ancient knowledge came into being. What is known is that it existed for many years as an oral tradition passed from mouth to ear among the Hebrew priesthood, long before written down. There are some elements of Egyptian and Chaldean influence buried in its archaic pages. In this fact, the Kabbalah is a whole system of mystical knowledge which has influenced to some extent the religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. At one point in its history, the Kabbalah was condemned by Orthodox Judaism as being heretical, but its teachings were never lost. It regained popularity in the 19th century when Europe experienced an occult revival. In England, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn used the Kabbalah as the heart and cornerstone of the order's magical foundation. The Kabbalah, as it exists today, is a living and active philosophy of the entire universe, the mind of God and the spirituality of humankind. It is a precise system that defines cosmic laws and shows us how to apply mystical principles to mundane life. This is a universal Kabbalah which can be studied by anyone of any faith to gain access to magical techniques and spiritual knowledge through meditation. I light a candle, some Palo Santo, for all these demons which I can just go home. Alright. Bop, 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 bop. The Kabbalah is usually classified under four heads which overlap each other in some instances. So there's like 4 worlds, if you will. This is the Tree of Life, and it has 10 spheres. And there's 4 of these. And they kind of stack on top of each other. And they're like realities or different states of consciousness. And also how the material world develops, how reality is. It's crazy. And there's 4 different types of Kabbalah, or practices, if you will. So you have the dogmatic Kabbalah, which is comprised of the study of Kabbalistic texts and literature, including such famous ancient books as the Zohar, the Torah, and the Sefer Yetzirah. Practical Kabbalah deals with the construction of talismans and ceremonial magic. Literal Kabbalah deals with gematria, the relationship between the numbers and letters of the Hebrew alphabet. It's one and the same. The letters are the numbers, and numbers are the letters in Hebrew, which yield many hidden meanings of Hebrew words and names. The unwritten Kabbalah, the 4th one, refers to correct knowledge in the sacred symbol known as the Tree of Life. This book will concentrate on the unwritten Kabbalah because knowledge of the Tree of Life is crucial to proper understanding of the Tarot. My girl calls it Tarot. The Tree of Life, or Etz HaChaim, is the most important symbol of Kabbalah. Just a glance at this diagram will reveal it to be a system of perfect mathematics, symmetry, and beauty. It is represented as 10 circles known as Sephiroth, which are spheres or emanations of the divine. Each Sephirah is assigned a number from 1 to 10. The 10 Sephiroth and the 22 paths which connect them are known as the 32 paths of wisdom. The Sephiroth were formed from the divine by means of the flaming sword or lightning bolt, cutting through the veils of negativity, instantly creating the manifest universe in a brilliant flash of light. The 22 paths were formed by the ascent of the serpent of wisdom, the reflux current, aspiring to reach the divine. The Sephiroth may be described as centers of energy or God consciousness, while the paths connecting them are conduits or energy channels. The Sephiroth are as follows. So the path of the serpent looks like this. And the lightning bolt. So the lightning bolt is how it's numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the serpent of wisdom represents the paths. Kether is the first Sephirah, which the divine brought forth from the three negative veils that lie beyond human comprehension. Its name means crown, and its divine Hebrew name is Aheye, I am, or Aheye Asher, Aheye, I am that I am. Kether is the sphere of the pure spiritual being, of union with God. Some of Kether's other titles are Ancient of Days, the Most High, the Concealed of the Concealed, the Vast Countenance, and the Primordial Point. It is the point of absolute unity, without division, ultimate peace, and oneness. Kether is the dwelling place of the divine white brilliance, the Godhead. Hello. The Godhead, which is neither male nor female, the source of all. It is the highest divine essence of which we can conceive. Kether is the primal glory, whose magical image is that of the ancient bearded king seen in a magical image is a symbol we can apply to something that cannot be truly symbolized, yet its image aids us to understand it. It is the it is the prima mobile, the first whirlings or stirrings of manifestation. All comes from Kether, and all will ultimately return to Kether. To reach the first Sephirah is to attain complete peace and illumination. It is the completion of the great work. Chokmah, the second Sephirah, is the second Sephirah, whose name means wisdom. Chokmah is also an extension of Kether. It is the overflowing of the divine into a second point, a reflection of the first. From the absolute unity of the one now comes the two. Even. The first expression of polarity and the balance of opposites which lies beneath the manifested universe. The energy of Chokmah is dynamic and outpouring. It is the great stimulator of the universe. Within Chokmah lies the first male expression as opposed to the androgynous expression of Kether. While Kether is the calm center point of the universe, Chokmah is complete action and movement. It is the archetypal positive and the supernal father, Abba. Its divine Hebrew name is Yah, or Jah, I say Jah, meaning Lord, Jabalan, which is also borne out by its magical image, that of a bearded male figure. Other symbols of Chokmah include that of the rod, the straight line, the standing stone, and the phallus. That is not to imply that Chokmah is nothing more than a purely sexual symbol, but is instead the root essence of masculine or dynamic force. The mundane chakra, or physical manifestation of Chokmah, is the Mazaroth, or the zodiac. It's also called the Mazaroth or Mazaloth. R's and L's are interchangeable in some of these words. Chokmah is the Mazaloth, or it's the whole entire zodiac. Like Kether's like God, consciousness, then within Chokmah contains the whole zodiac. Binah is it contains Saturn. Hesed contains Jupiter. Gabora contains Mars. Tiferet is the sun. Netchak is Venus. Hod is Mercury. Yesod is the moon right here. Malkuth is the earth. Also, Malkuth means kingdom. Yesod means foundation. Hod means splendor. Netchak means victory. Tiferet means beauty. Gabora means severity or might. Hesed means mercy. Binah means understanding. Chokmah means wisdom. And Kether means the crown. So, Chokmah contains the whole fixed stars and zodiac, and then you got the other planets. Chokmah is the Mazzaroth of the zodiac, the vital outpouring energy which fathered the astrological signs. The experience of Chokmah is that of the vision of God face to face. Binah, the third Sephiroth, whose name means understanding, is the feminine counterpart to Chokmah. Binah is the supernal mother, Ima, the great negative or female force. By negative, we mean receptive in a purely scientific way, like the positive and negative parts of an atom, not as a value judgment. Positive and negative are as inseparable as yin and yang. Receptivity is a feminine function, and just as in the case of Chokmah, masculinity, we are referring to sexual functions in the most basic and unmanifested of concepts. Chokmah, the Sephirah of duality, by necessity overflows into a third sphere in order for a natural natural polarity to occur. Binah, the number 3, is a sphere of form, another feminine function. Binah receives the overflow of the dynamic energy of Chokmah and organizes it for the first time under the concept of form. Force and form are male and female activities which reoccur throughout the tree of life. But this is where they start. Binah is the mother of discipline, restricting the free-flowing energy in what will ultimately be born into structured form. The divine Hebrew name of Binah is Yod-He-Vav-He Elohim, which means the Lord God. And the name, the completion of the Trinity, is implied. For the first 3 Sephiroth are set apart and above all others on the tree. Another one of Binah's titles is Mara, the Great Sea, and its mundane chakra is the planet Saturn. The magical image is that of a mature woman, and associated symbols are the triangle and cup. Between Binah and the rest of the Sephiroth is a great chasm known as the Abyss. This marks distinct separation from the lower parts of the tree, a difference in levels of being. Within this gulf is what is known as the invisible Sephiroth of Da'ath. This is not a true Sephiroth, but can be likened to a passageway across the abyss. Chesed, the fourth Sephiroth, whose name means mercy, as the first sphere below the abyss, it is therefore the first sphere of our physical universe. In Hesed can be found the structural support of all that is manifested. Hesed receives the current of energy, which has been modified and disciplined by Binah and given it another influx of male or positive energy. This begins the process of materializing the abstract energies of the supernals, the Sephiroth above the abyss. Hesed is the matrix upon which the archetypal ideas will later be built into concrete form. The patterns of the Tree of Life repeat themselves as the path of the flaming sword descends. Therefore, Hesed is the same energy as Chokmah, but on a lower, more manifested level. The divine Hebrew name of Hesed is El, which simply means God. Other titles include Gedula, love, and majesty. The magical image of this sphere is that of a mighty crowned and throned king. The physical manifestation of Hesed is the planet Jupiter, which brings up images of a jovial, majestic God who rules with mercy and kindness. In fact, the spiritual experience of this Sephirah is that of the vision of love. Other symbols associated with Hesed are the equal-armed cross, the crook of mercy, the four-sided pyramid, the orb, the square, and the scepter. Geborah is the fifth Sephirah, and its name means severity. Other titles given to this sphere are justice and fear. Indeed, this is the least understood and most feared Sephirah on the tree. However, the natural order of the universe depends upon concepts of opposites and balance. Thus, the benevolence, mercy, and form-building functions of Hesed are now equilibrated by the harsh, destructive actions of the fifth sphere. Geborah's duty is to break down the form issued by Hesed and apply discipline in the force of a purging fire. Any energy that makes its way down the tree of life into the material world must be tested and tempered by the opposites of mercy and severity. It must be cleansed in the fires of Geborah like the blade of a strong sword, free from impurities. Only in this way can the energy be a sturdy vehicle for manifestation. The divine name of Geborah is Elohim Gibor, which means Almighty God, as well as God of battles. The magical image of this sphere is that of a mighty warrior in the chariot. The mundane chakra or physical manifestation of Geborah is the planet Mars, named after the Roman god of war. Geborah's effects are often seen as being evil, but then again, an unruly child also considers his punishments unjust. Geborah is the strong arm of God, commanding respect and burning away all that is useless or outmoded. The harsh, destructive actions of this sphere are absolutely vital to further evolution. Geborah can be likened to the lightning bolt which strikes an old, dried woodland, clearing away the dead trees so that new vegetation can grow, or the surgeon who must amputate a limb in order to spare a life. Nice. Geborah is a dynamic power which is fully capable of implementing severe actions, which may seem harsh to us but are necessary in the greater scheme of things. Just as Hesed is the same energy as Hakma on a lower level, Geborah is a lower form of Binah, the sphere which restricts and disciplines. In the same manner, Geborah too is considered to be a feminine or negative Sephirah, speaking in terms of polarity. Geborah seems much more harsh than Binah, simply because it is below the abyss, and its effects are more easily seen by us in the manifested universe. Other symbols of Geborah include the pentagon, the inside of a pentagram, the rose of 5 petals, the scourge of severity, the spear, the sword. Tifereth is the 6th Sephirah, whose name means beauty. Its divine name in Hebrew is Yod-He Vav-He Elohah Da'ath, which means Lord God of Knowledge. Other titles include Zar Anpin, the Lesser Countenance, Melech, the King Adam, the Son, and the Man. You're the fucking man, dude. Tifereth lies at the very center of the Tree of Life, the center of equilibrium, and receives the powers of all the other Sephiroth. This sphere strikes the balance between the mercy of Hesed and the severity of Geborah. Its magical images are those of a king, a child, and a sacrificed god, Jesus, Mithras, Osiris. These images can only be understood by Tifereth's relationship to the other Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. From our standpoint, in Malkuth, the sixth sphere seems a great king, but from the height of Keter, it appears as a small child. And from the standpoint of Tifereth itself, the image is that of a sacrificed god. Upon the point, we have described each Sephirah in abstract terms of force and form, of macrocosmic archetypes which are somewhat remote from us. But in Tifereth, this changes because the sixth sphere lies within the range of human experience. The Sephiroth from Tifereth down can be considered more by the effects they have on human consciousness than by polarities alone. The center of the Tree of Life is the place of the reconciler or redeemer. God forms of this energy include Christ, Buddha, and Osiris. This is because Tifereth mediates between the Godhead and Kether, the one source, and the material universe. The mundane chakra assigned to this sphere is the life-giving sun. Symbolically the Son, born unto the Father, Kether, into the earthly plane to reconcile that which is above to that which is below. Tiferet intercedes or mediates between the divine and the physical universe. Tiferet is an especially mystical sphere. The spiritual experiences that take place in Tiferet is the vision of the harmony of things. This is due to the fact that the higher self, or the holy guardian angel, of every individual sits in Tiferet. The goal of all spiritual experience is the search for light, is the search for the light, and this is obtained by devotion to the great work. This is why the Christ consciousness, as the giver of illumination and the healer, is placed in Tiferet. This is the incarnation of the child within us as seen from the view of Kether. The dying God myth, be it Christ, Osiris, or another, comes into play here as the living God willingly sacrifices himself for the universal cycle of death and rebirth, and for union with the divine. This sacrifice is not seen as a loss but as a gain, the exchange of one form for another. Symbolically, Tiferet is placed in the heart center of the human body. Other symbols include the Calvary cross, the rose cross, the truncated pyramid, and the cube. Netshak is the seventh Sephirah, whose name means victory. As we said earlier in this section dealing with Tiferet, the lower realms of the tree can be better described in terms of human consciousness and experience. This is especially true of the four remaining Sephirot, which begin with Netshak. The sphere of Netshak is a dwelling place of human instincts, emotions, and desires. It is the feeling side of the personality that can be likened to the right side of the human brain. This is where human creativity is born. Once again, the idea of polarity comes into play, because Netshak is considered a feminine or negative sphere which has an opposite Sephirot to balance it. But at this level of the tree, we are truly discussing negative and positive sides of the human mind. The divine Hebrew name of Netshak is Yod-He-Vav-He Zaveot, which means the Lord of hosts or armies. The order of angels assigned to this sphere is the Elohim, which simply means the gods, and the physical manifestation is the planet Venus, named for the goddess of love. This is because the gods as thought of by humans are born in the Netshak part of the human mind. God is perceived by the feelings and instincts, sometimes called faith, of Netshak, more so than in the intellectual mind. This is why humans have always defined the reality of the divine in terms of art, music, dance, and poetry, all expressions of Netshak energy. In this manner, the divine is brought closer to those who seek it. In the seventh sphere, we also find the seat of what is called the group mind, the storehouse of symbols and images in all of us, which inspires the artist, dancer, or poet to create works that speak to us on a deeper level of consciousness. Netshak is a dynamic force which inspires and drives us. Dynamic means like action, going forward, or moving. This sphere is a reflection of the fiery Geborah, but at the level of the human personality mediated by Tiferet, the fire becomes desire and emotion. The magical name of Netshak is that of magical image of Netshak is that of a beautiful naked woman. Other symbols include the rose, lamp, and the girdle. In this sphere, we find all expressions of beauty and love, but also less understood emotions of anger and hate, because all emotions dwell here. It is for this reason that the energies of Netshak must be balanced by its opposite, intellect. Hod is the eighth Sephirah, whose name means splendor or glory. Just as Netshak symbolizes the raw animal instinct, Hod represents the intellectual part of the mind to which the left brain can be assigned. It is the rational mind which organizes and categorizes. The mundane chakra attributed here is the planet Mercury, named after the messenger god, the god of knowledge. All expressions of writing, language, communication, science, and magic are assigned to Hod. All words and names of power have their origins in the sphere. We also find the idea of the individual mind here, as opposed to the group mind, which is in the Chic. It is the individual mind of Hod which makes one aware of one's personal relationship to the divine. Hod is a lower form of the energy found in Hesed, but mediated through Tiferet. The energy is described as watery or fluidic. The divine Hebrew name given to the Sephirah is Elohim Zavayot, God of hosts. The magical image of Hod is a hermaphrodite, Hermes and Aphrodite, the neutral representation of a visual image. This image is indeterminate until given form by Hod. Hod and Nechak truly cannot function properly, one without the other. Intellect needs the balance of emotion to drive it. Otherwise, the words and science of Hod become mere rational labeling and dead and uninspired. Likewise, emotions need the discipline of intellect to stabilize and ground, to keep the dynamic energy from being squandered. The relationship between Hod and Nechak is symbiotic. In terms of the individual, the two spheres must be in harmony and balance in order to maintain a healthy personality. Yesod is the ninth sphere, whose name means foundation. The spiritual experience of Yesod is the vision of the machinery of the universe. What this implies is that Yesod is the sphere of the astral light, also known as the Akasha. This is the etheric substance which underlies all dense matter. It is the astral matrix, which the physical universe is built. Yesod is the receptacle of influences from all other Sephirot, which then are combined into a type of blueprint made from the astral light. This blueprint is the foundation of etheric double upon which the earthly plane is constructed. All events, whether natural or man-made, occur in the aethers of Yesod before they occur in the physical world. The ninth Sephirah is the force which activates the final manifestation of form. In the same manner, all the planets appear first as an idea in the Yesodic part of the mind of the inventor. All magical operations as well take place by working in the sphere of Yesod, because the magician seeks to effect changes in the physical world by manipulating subtle currents of the astral. The physical manifestation of Yesod is the moon. In all its phases of flux and reflux, the bright and dark moon is said to represent the upper and lower parts of the astral plane, which contains many images that are both fantastic and frightening. This is because the astral plane retains the Akashic record, which is a storehouse of images created by humans since the earliest days on Earth. Because of this, the lower realms of the astral are full of fear, dreams, and illusions. The divine Hebrew name of Yesod is Shaddai El-Kai, which means Almighty Living God, and the magical image is that of a beautiful naked young man. This alludes to the beauty that can be found if the illusions of Yesod are met with courage and strength. In fact, Yesod, as a representation of the moon, reflects back the solar light of Tiferet to the earth below. True understanding of the astral light which dwells in Yesod is power indeed. The force given here is also sexual, because in Yesod the sexes are for the first time given the form that they will take in the earthly plane. Additional symbols of Yesod are perfumes and sandals. Perfumes and incenses allude to air, the element to which the sphere is attributed. Both incense and sandals as ritual garb are important elements in magical ceremonies, which are carried out in the astral realms. Malkut is the 10th Sephirah, whose name means the kingdom. This is the sphere of form and manifestation, the material universe as we know it. The physical manifestation of Malkut is the planet Earth, or our own terra firma. Yet Malkut is more than just the ground beneath our feet. It is also the Sephirah in which all four elements are based. Therefore, when discussing Malkuth, we are really talking about the physical manifestations of fire, water, air, and earth. Malkuth is the ultimate receptacle for all of the combined currents of energies of the entire tree of life. While the other Sephiroth are basically kinetic and mobile, Malkuth is the only sphere that has achieved stability and inertia, a period of rest. The 10th and final sphere receives the etheric framework of manifestation from Yesod and completes the building process by grounding the energies in matter. The divine Hebrew name of Malkuth is Adonai Haaretz, which means Lord of the earth. This again refers to the function of the sphere as bringing the will of the divine into concrete, tangible form. It also alludes to the fact that although Malkuth is identified with the world of matter, it is not seen as unspiritual. The 10th Sephirah is seen as the completion of the tree of life in one sense and the beginning of a new tree in another, because Malkuth is a lower reflection of Kether, and in fact is Kether of another tree, the four trees. As the ultimate sphere of form and passivity, the fertile Malkuth is also known as the inferior mother, as opposed to the great mother, Binah. Malkuth, the queen, Kala, and the bride. The magical image is that of a young woman crowned and throned. Another title given is the gate of tears, the gate of death, the gate of justice, the gate of the Garden of Eden, just to name a few. This implies that we, as physical beings, live out our lives in the realm of Malkuth, only to pass through the gate upon leaving our bodies behind. Additional symbols of Malkuth include the altar of the double cube. I have that. That's my altar. It's the equal arm cross, the magic circle, and the triangle of art. The patterns on the tree. As you can see, the Kabbalistic tree of life is a richly complex system of esoteric thought. What has been presented thus far in this book is only the briefest outline of the tree which is necessary for the student to grasp Kabbalistic basics. But in addition to a description of the 10 Sephiroth, relationships between the different groups of spheres must also be examined. There are ways of exploring the diversified patterns that occur on the Tree of Life because these various combinations shed light on different aspects of each Sephirah by disclosing their system of balances and alliances, the pillars. The first important configuration that occurs on the tree is that of the three pillars. The natural succession of the Sephiroth shows this formation clearly. The spheres of Binah, Gibora, and Had form what is called the left-hand pillar, or pillar of severity. Hakma, Hesed, and Nechak create what is known as the right-hand pillar, or pillar of mercy. And the Sephiroth in the center form the middle pillar, or pillar of mildness. The right hand, or white pillar, is described as masculine, positive, active. It is the pillar of force. The left hand, or black pillar, is feminine, negative, and passive, the pillar of form. These columns represent the two great contending forces of nature, and their descriptions are not meant to imply that one is good and the other evil, for the harmony of the universe depends upon their balanced opposition. The middle pillar is the pillar of equilibrium, the way of balance between the other two. It is the devotion path of the mystic and the path of the arrow of Sagittarius, which leads in a straight line from the completion of the tree in Malkuth to its one source in Kether. The three pillars can easily be described like parts of an atom. The right and left pillars function not unlike protons and electrons, while the middle pillar acts as a neutron, neither positively nor negatively charged. The triads. The next important pattern on the Tree of Life is that of three triangles, or triads. The first triangle consists of Kether, Hakma, and Binah. This is called the supernal triad, or the divine self. Next, Hesed, Gabor, and Tiferet, which form the ethical triad, or higher self. Finally, we have the astral triad, which contains Nechak, Had, and Yesod, which is the realm of the personality. With this series of triangles, the Kabbalah defines the three parts of the individual self, from the supreme spiritual essence to the human ego. The supernal or celestial triad is the only one whose apex points upward to the one source, the crown of Kether, the point to which the student of Kabbalah externally strives. Mr. Hakma, Hesed, and Nechak are on the pillar of mercy, masculine pillar, pillar of severity. Bina, Gebora, Hod, the equilibrating force, that's like a neutron. It's like an electron, proton, neutron. Kether, Da'ath, a secret sphere. Tiferet, Yesod, Malkuth. The supernal triad points upwards, and the ethical and astral triads both point downwards, because these are manifestations of a form in the physical. This is still in the spiritual and untangible. The ethical triad combines the spheres of severity with mercy, and beauty is the result. This triangle is the seat of the higher self or lower genius, which seeks ever to unite our conscious waking self to that of the greater genius above the abyss. The astral or mundane triad is the realm of the waking personality, concerned only with worldly affairs. The balancing of the three spheres of this triad is the first step of the Hermetic student, for only when the astral house is in order can the higher branches of the tree be seriously explored. The four worlds. This method of looking at the tree is especially important when considering how much it corresponds to the tarot. Kabbalistic theory describes the universe as being separated into four distinct worlds. In fact, the fourfold model occurs over and over again in esoteric thought. With the creation of the Sephiroth by the path of the flaming sword, the four worlds came into being, each evolving from the one before it, becoming more substantial as they reach manifestation into the physical form. Each Kabbalistic world is symbolized by one of the Hebrew letters of the divine name of God, Yod-He, Vav-He, which is known as the Tetragrammaton, or four-letter name. These four letters are said to represent the true nature of God, which is unknown and unpronounceable. Each of the four letters of the name have one of the four elements assigned to it. Yod, the first letter of the Tetragrammaton, is attributed to the element of fire. He, the second letter, is associated with the element of water. Vav, the third letter, is ascribed to air, while the final He refers to the element of earth. These letters also show the balance of polarities inherent in the Kabbalistic system. For fire, Yod, and Vav, air, are masculine positive energies, while He, water, and He, final, earth, are feminine and negative currents. The unpronounceable name of God is the cornerstone of the fourfold model of the manifest universe. So the first world is called the Absolute, the world of archetypes, collective consciousness. Absolute is the first of the four worlds and is attributed to Yod, the first letter. It is known as the archetypal world and the domain of primordial fire. This is the divine realm of pure spirit, which consists of the spheres of Kether, Hakma, and Binah, all three of the Sephiroth, which reside above the abyss. The fiery domain of Absolute activates and fathers the other three worlds. This is the world inhabited by the presence of the powers of God, symbolized by various divine names. Next is Berea. It's going to be the first He. And then it's the balance of mercy, severity, through the sun, or Tiferet, beauty. And it is water. Let's see what this has to say about it. Bria is the second world, the world of creation. This level of the tree includes Hesed, Gabor, and Tiferet. The second letter, He, a tetragrammaton, is ascribed to this world, and it is therefore the dominion of primordial water. The element of water represents the fluid, inventive mind, thus Bria described as the world of pure intellect where the archangels are said to exist. Yetzirah is the third level, known as the world of formation. This consists of Nechak, Had, and Yesod. Vav, the third letter of the concealed name, is associated with this realm, along with primordial air. This world is approximated to the astral plane because the etheric framework behind the material universe is found here. It is also the domain of the various orders of angels. Asya is the fourth and final world. It is the world of action, which consists only of the sphere of Malkuth. The final He, a tetragrammaton, as well as primordial earth, is ascribed to Asya. In this world, the four elements which make up the physical universe exist both in sensation and in the hidden properties of matter. In this world, tangible action can take place. This is an additional way of looking at the four worlds, which show four entire trees of life, one on top of the other, each one representing one of the worlds, forming a total of 40 Sephiroth. This diagram gives rise to various meditations and will in fact become quite important when discussing the minor arcana of the tarot. The divisions of the soul. Nekshama, Yakita, Kia, Neshama, Ruach, the Nefesh, Gof. The divisions of the soul. The final discourse on the tree, which we will examine in this book, is that of the parts of the soul, the human soul. The first and highest part is known as the Neshama, which is further subdivided into the Yakida, the Kia, and Neshama. The Yakida is centered in Keter and is what Freud called the superego. It is the true and immortal divine self. The Kia is placed in Hakma and our inquisitive urge to become more than human. It is our true will. The Neshama is our psychic intuition. This part is located in Binah, but it lends the name to the other supernals as being generally descriptive of the highest aspirations of the soul. The next major division is the Ruach, the conscious part of our being, which is also called ego. It is the mind and reasoning powers. The Ruach is located in the 5 Sephiroth, which lie below the abyss. It is ruled by by secular and temporary desires. The Nefesh is the dark side of your subconscious, also known as the lower self, which resides in Yesod. The proper use of Nefesh energy is important in some aspects of magic, but it must always remain under the firm control of the Ruach, your shadow. The final part of the soul is called the Gof, located in Malkuth. This lowest part of the soul is closely tied to the physical body. It is a low level of the subconscious which communicates with the brain about the current conditions of the human body, or your subconscious mind. This completes our short outline of the Tree of Life so that we may move on to the subject of tarot. However, the serious student will be well advised to dig deeper into the bountiful well of ancient wisdom known as the Kabbalah, which Dion Fortune described as the yoga of the West. It certainly is, since it is the foundation of the magic and mysticism of our culture. A couple of excellent books on the subject include Mrs. Fortune's The Mystical Kabbalah and The Kabbalah Unveiled, translated by McGregor Mathers. Further study on this system will serve to enhance the reader's understanding of the wealth of spiritual knowledge to be found in the origins of Western mystical thought, as well as his or her understanding of the tarot. Tarot fundamentals. The tarot is an illustrated textbook of occult knowledge that has numerous parallels with the Kabbalah. This marvelous picture book reveals harmonies and relationships between many combinations of occult symbols, which can greatly enrich anyone who takes the time to study them. A traditional tarot deck consists of 78 cards, which are divided into two groups: the major arcana, also known as trumps or atus. Atu means key in the Egyptian language. Let's see. The minor arcana, or the numbered cards, and the court or royal cards. The trumps are 22 in number and correspond to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Of the 56 minor cards, 40 are number cards, and in the final 16 are court cards. In the new Golden Dawn Ritual Tarot deck, there are 79 cards. One extra version of Temperance is given in order to conform with the symbolic ritual needs of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. However, in either meditation or divination with this deck, one or the other version should be put aside so that the traditional number of cards in the deck is maintained. It's always 78 cards. 78. The trumps. The cards of the major arcana are the more easily recognized ones in the deck and those which even tarot dabblers seem to have a grasp of. These cards are assigned to the 22 paths which connect to the Sephiroth and the Tree of Life. The paths are the main focus of the tarot deck because they illustrate forces in transit, the forces which carry the currents of energy between one Sephiroth to another. These energies are karmic forces which have influenced the incidences of the past and can affect events in the present and future. Moreover, the paths are subjective passages of human consciousness, which lead to the objective centers of or emanations of energy known as Sephiroth. The Atus are kinetic, changing forces as opposed to the minor cards, which are stationary and fixed. Thus, the trump cards in particular are designed as vehicles by which we can travel the path of the serpent of wisdom, winding up the tree of life in an undulating search for spiritual knowledge. Another important point about tarot trumps is one of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet is assigned to each card. This alphabet is much more than a simple series of letters. It is a complete Kabbalistic philosophy and system of its own. Each letter is a glyph, or compound symbol, with many associated ideas. For example, the first Hebrew letter is Aleph, which is equivalent to the letter A. The meaning of Aleph is ox, and it has the numeric value of 1. Aleph is also used to represent the element of air, but in addition it has the color yellow and the musical note E natural ascribed to it. Thus, from one single letter of Hebrew, we have obtained many different but connected ideas and sensory images. Hebrew is in fact a hieroglyphic alphabet of symbols, hidden meanings, colors, numbers, and sounds, which is ideal for unlocking the doors of our subconscious minds in order to communicate with our inner self. The subconscious speaks to us in symbols and archetypes. By training the conscious mind to understand the meaning of symbols, we are in fact training both parts of our mind to learn how to speak to each other. This not only leads to the development of a healthier personality, but helps to clear the way for real spiritual growth to occur. The Hebrew letters were intended to be meditated upon as sacred letters, portals of hidden wisdom through which one can climb the tree to reach the summit. Woo! This book fucking kicks ass, huh? I would say so. I have not read it at all yet. I read the ritual part of it, but this fucking book kicks ass, son. Y'all can go into the description if you if there is a description box. I use Live to make videos, but in the description of this, I have put in a copy of this book so you can follow along and also read along later. And perform the rituals of the consecration ritual. Yeah, yes, Kim, it kicks ass. So we got a. You're welcome. So attribution of the tarot trumps. So the Fool is going to be path 11. The Fool falls from heaven. Its number is 0. Its letter is Aleph. Its symbol is air. The Magician, path 12, connects Kether to Binah, or God, to Saturn. It's the 4 threes, because it's the third Sephiroth, and the 4 queens. Binah. Hakma is the 4 twos, and the 4 kings. Kether is the 4 aces. Yeah, but this is in the description part. Y'all can look at this a little later. You have the Hebrew alphabet. The Hebrew alphabet is fucking awesome. I highly suggest you check it out and study it. Yeah, but this is the minor arcana. The major arcana are the 22 paths, the 22 trumps. The minor arcana have to do with the Sephiroth. So remember to like when you're reading the minor arcana cards, keep in mind that the 4 fives have to do with the fiery Gibora, or Mars. The 4 fours have to do with Mercy, Hesed, Jupiter. The 4 kings court cards and the 4 twos have to do with Hakma. The 4 queens and the 4 threes have to do with Binah, or Saturn. The 4 aces are going to have to do with the fundamental root, pure force of each element, or what's called the aces. Tiferet of the sun is going to be the 4 sixes and the 4 princes. That's why the 6s are always awesome. The 8s are going to be ascribed to Hod, or Mercury. The 7s are going to be ascribed to Venus, or Nitshak. All the 9s are going to be ascribed to Yesod, or the moon. And all the princesses and the 10s. Koi, hey, I don't mean to be annoying, but could you make another Supreme Invoking Ritual, the Pentagram video? If not, no worries. Yeah, I'll do it right now, bro. I could do that right now. It's actually in here. It's in the back of this book, I believe. Let me see. Yeah. The Supreme Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram. This is a traditional Golden Dawn ritual, which some magicians may wish to use in place of Regardi's opening by Watchtower at the beginning of the preceding ritual. Perform relaxation ritual or take a ritual bath. Do the Kabbalistic cross with lotus wand. This is real Golden Dawn. So, like, you're supposed to make a lotus wand and all that. Fuck, like, I'm... Y'all... I think, Koi, you know what's up. You use the sword mudra, I think, right? Because I'm, minimalist when it comes to magic. I don't like too much shit. I've never made a lotus wand. But anyways, with lotus wand or similar implement, trace the invoking spirit active pentagram, visualizing it in electric blue toward the east, and vibrate XRP while you trace it. Trace the white spirit sigil in the center, which is an 8-spoked wheel, while saying A. You give the Osiris Slain and Luke signs, and then trace the blue it says trace blue invoking. I picture it in a white, like electric fiery, or like a yellow, more so. It's like a yellow flaming electric pentagram, but it says blue here. Do whatever you feels right, but then trace the yellow invoking air pentagram and vibrate P. And you're going to be like, you vibrate it while you're tracing the invoking pentagram. Draw the yellow sigil of Aquarius in the center. I do both in yellow, but this is like the exact way you had to do it Golden Dawn style. Draw the yellow sigil of Aquarius in the center of the pentagram, and trace or you say Yod He Vav He. Give the sign of air. Go to the south. Trace the invoking spirit pentagram. In electric blue, vibrate Bitoim. While tracing it, draw the white spirit sigil in the center while intoning A. Give the Luke sign. I do Osiris Slain as well. Then trace the red, I say red, it says blue invoking fire pentagram while vibrating Oipeteia Pedoke. In the center, draw the sigil of Leo in red and intone Elohim. Give the sign of fire. Walk to the west. Trace invoking spirit. Trace invoking spirit pentagram. Passive. There's 2 different spirit pentagrams. So water and earth get the passive. Air and fire get the active pentagrams. I'll show you how it goes in a second. And blue while vibrating Hey Koma. Draw the white spirit sigil in the center and intone Agela. Give the Luke symbols, then draw the invoking water pentagram in blue and vibrate Impeasel Gaioel. Trace the blue sigil of an eagle's head in the center and vibrate Aleph Lamed El. Give the sign of water. Go to the north. Trace invoking spirit passive pentagram there in blue. Vibrate in Ta. Trace the white spirit. You trace the white spirit sigil and intone Agela. Give the Luke symbols, then draw the invoking earth pentagram while intoning Emodiaiktiga. Trace the black sigil of Taurus in the center while vibrating Adonai. Give Give the earth sign. Return to the east. Invoke the archangels of the four quarters. Repeat the Kabbalistic cross. So I'll do that real quick. I would say the Supreme Pentagram Ritual is way cooler to do. If you have the time, I would do that I would do that in place of like the LBRP and LIRP. To be honest, I do. It's cool to, because you're, and also you don't need to do those Enochian words. What I was chanting was, or vibrating was Enochian. If you don't want to do the Enochian, because like it is kind of weird, if you're not enthused with like the Enochian current, if you don't know much about it, you can do the greater ritual, the pentagram, which is just it's using different divine words. Aleister Crowley published it in the Equinox many a moon ago. So I don't quite remember how the greater ritual of the pentagram goes. I like to do the Enochian myself. All right. My wand is going to be some Palo Santo. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You fucking, if you like the Enochian, definitely do the Enochian stuff, man. It's very powerful. These are really cool. They start changing your consciousness and stuff. It's that's real. That's like adept shit. Like fucking, you already know what's up, Koi. And anyone like interested in doing magic, just straight up fucking start doing Enochian magic if you want to like see if magic's real. You'll start like having like entities and shit in your house and fucking stuff like that if you ain't ready. Well, even when you are ready, like, I don't know, you just magic is about changing your consciousness and shit, and then the way you look at the world changes. The way that you think and are. You definitely aren't like perfect people, but it's like true work on the self and the personality and staying true to who you are, but like how the Masons say, make a good man better, make a good person better, make a good woman better. Order of the Eastern Star for the ladies. That's Freemasonry. White, black people aren't, I don't think they're allowed in Scottish Rite. Black people have to be fucking Prince Hall Freemasons. It's women, black and white. It's like segregated. Oh man, it's a dying organization. They're no longer even like very esoteric. Anyways, I try to shit on Freemasonry whenever I can because that organization could be sick. It could be awesome, but it's not. It's just used by dilettantes that have no idea what they're doing. They just use it for fucking a place to go hang out and to network, which is like I'm going to do the Kabbalistic cross and the analysis of the keyword to start it. That's how I start my Supreme Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram. Yeshua Malkut Vigebura Vigedula Leolam Amen. I, Ignis Natura Renovatur Integra, through fire nature is perfectly renewed. Yod, Nun, Resh, Yod, the sign of Osiris slain, the sign of Isis in mourning, the sign of Apophis in Typhon, the sign of Osiris slain and arisen. El, V, X, Lux, the light of the cross. Virgo, Isis, mighty mother. Scorpio, Apophis, destroyer. Sol, Osiris, slain and arisen. Isis, Apophis, Osiris. Let the divine light descend.